Story 1. It all started at my daughter Lily's elementary school about a month ago when she came home excited about her new friend Jamie, who had the coolest rainbow backpack ever. For context, Lily is in second grade at Oakwood Elementary, a public school with a good reputation in our neighborhood. She's always been a social butterfly, making friends easily and coming home with stories about her classmates. The Monday after Lily mentioned Jamie's backpack, I was dropping her off at school when I noticed a woman talking very animatedly to Mrs. Rodriguez, the second grade teacher. I didn't think much of it until pickup time, when Mrs. Rodriguez asked if I could stay for a quick chat. "Mrs. Rodriguez, thanks for waiting. I wanted to give you a heads up about something unusual that happened today. A parent Jamie's classmate's mother has requested that Jamie not be allowed to use her rainbow backpack in class anymore." That's strange. Why would anyone care about a child's backpack? Mrs. Rodriguez, the parent, Mrs. Palmer, claims that her son Tyler is allergic to loud colors, and that the rainbow pattern is causing him headaches and difficulty focusing. I tried to keep a straight face, but I must have failed because Mrs. Rodriguez gave me a knowing look. "Mrs. Rodriguez, I know. I've been teaching for 15 years, and this is a first for me too. Principal Garcia has already been informed, and we wanted to let parents of Jamie's friends know what's happening in case Jamie mentions feeling upset." How is Jamie handling it? Mrs. Rodriguez, she was confused when Mrs. Palmer approached her directly this morning and told her that her backpack was making Tyler sick. I intervened immediately, of course. I was shocked that an adult would approach someone else's child like that. When I got home, I told my husband about the bizarre situation, and we both agreed to check in with Lily to see if she'd noticed anything. Sure enough, at dinner, Lily brought it up herself. "Lily, Mom, is it true that people can be allergic to colors? Tyler's mom said Jamie's backpack is making him sick, but Jamie said that's not a real thing." Jamie's right, honey. People can be allergic to materials or substances, but not to colors themselves. Lily, then why did Tyler's mom tell Jamie to leave her backpack at home? My husband jumped in, trying to be diplomatic. "Husband, sometimes adults have different ideas about things, and Tyler's mom might genuinely believe that bright colors affect her son. But it's not Jamie's responsibility to change her backpack. I thought that would be the end of it, just a strange story to tell friends over dinner. I was wrong." The next morning, as I was dropping Lily off, I witnessed what can only be described as a scene. Mrs. Palmer, a woman with an expensive-looking haircut, designer sunglasses, and the energy of someone who regularly demands to speak to managers, was standing outside the principal's office with Tyler and a man I assumed was her husband. Mrs. Palmer was speaking loudly enough that several parents, including me, could hear her clearly. "Mrs. Palmer, this is absolutely ridiculous. My son has a medically documented sensitivity to visual stimulation, and that girl's garish backpack is triggering his condition. I've already explained this to her teacher, and now I have to explain it to you." Principal Garcia remained calm, even though Mrs. Palmer was clearly trying to intimidate him with her volume. "Principal Garcia, Mrs. Palmer, as I explained when you called yesterday, we cannot prohibit a student from using a commercially available backpack with a rainbow pattern. If Tyler has specific medical needs, we're happy to discuss accommodations for him, such as a different seating arrangement." Mrs. Palmer, accommodations. You want my son to be the one accommodated when she's the one causing the problem. This is exactly the kind of backward thinking that's ruining schools today. Mr. Palmer looked uncomfortable but didn't contradict his wife. Tyler was staring at the ground, his face red with embarrassment. Principal Garcia, Mrs. Palmer, I understand your concern for your son, but we need to handle this through the proper channels. If you'd like to come into my office to discuss. Mrs. Palmer, I've already tried the proper channels, and clearly nobody is taking Tyler's condition seriously. Where is Jamie's mother? I want to speak with her directly. At this point, a woman I hadn't met before stepped forward. She was dressed casually in jeans and a t-shirt, with a kind face that currently showed concern. Jamie's mom, I'm Jamie's mother. Mrs. Palmer, I understand you're upset, but I don't appreciate you approaching my daughter yesterday and telling her that her backpack is making your son sick. Mrs. Palmer, well, someone had to tell her. Your daughter needs to learn that her choices affect others. Jamie's mom, she's 7 years old, and it's a backpack with rainbows on it. If your son has special needs, I'm sympathetic. But that doesn't give you the right to make my child feel like she's hurting someone by using a backpack she loves. Mrs. Palmer, so you're refusing to cooperate. This is exactly what I told Douglas would happen. No one cares about children with real medical issues. Jamie's mom remained remarkably composed. Jamie's mom, I care very much about children with medical issues. If Tyler has been diagnosed with something specific, I'm sure the school can work with you on a 504 plan or EAP. But targeting my daughter's backpack isn't a reasonable accommodation. Mrs. Palmer, are you a doctor now? You don't get to decide what's reasonable for my son. Principal Garcia stepped in again. Principal Garcia, let's continue this conversation in my office. Mrs. Palmer, the bell is about to ring, and the children need to get to class. Mrs. Palmer, no, I don't think we will. Come on, Tyler. Douglas, get the car. We're leaving, and Tyler won't be returning until that backpack is gone. She grabbed Tyler's hand and marched toward the parking lot, with her husband following behind looking defeated. The rest of us stood there in awkward silence until Principal Garcia suggested we all head out so the children wouldn't be late for class. Throughout the day, my phone buzzed with messages from other parents who had witnessed the scene or heard about it. By pickup time, the story had evolved into something approaching legend status among the second-grade parents. When I picked up Lily, she was full of questions. Lily, Mom, Tyler left school today because of Jamie's backpack. Mrs. Rodriguez said he might not come back. Is that true? Me, his mom decided to take him home early today. I don't know if he'll be back tomorrow. Lily, but it's just a backpack with rainbows. Tyler actually told me last week that he thought it was cool. I raised my eyebrows at that, but decided not to comment further. The next day, Tyler wasn't in school, nor the day after. On Thursday, Mrs. Rodriguez sent an email to all the parents in the class explaining that the administration had investigated Mrs. Palmer's claims, consulted with the school district's legal team, and determined that Jamie's backpack did not violate any school policies and posed no health risk to other students. The email also included a gentle reminder about the school's anti-bullying policy and encouraged parents to talk to their children about respecting personal property and choices. It was clear without being explicit that the school was firmly on Jamie's side. Friday morning, just as I was saying goodbye to Lily, Mrs. Palmer appeared at the drop-off lane. She wasn't with Tyler, but she was carrying a folder that looked suspiciously official. Mrs. Palmer, I hope you're all happy. My son is traumatized because of your collective refusal to acknowledge his medical condition. One dad, who I knew was a pediatrician, couldn't help himself. Dad, Mrs. Palmer, I don't mean to intrude, but I'm a pediatrician, and I've never heard of a medical condition that includes an allergy to specific colors. If Tyler is experiencing headaches or focus issues, there might be something else going on that would benefit from proper diagnosis. Mrs. Palmer, well, doctor, not everything is in your medical textbooks. Some children are highly sensitive to visual stimuli, and Tyler happens to be one of them. Dad, that's actually well documented. It's called visual sensitivity or Erlen syndrome. But treatment typically involves tinted lenses or overlays for the affected person, not removing colorful objects from their environment. Mrs. Palmer looked like she wanted to argue more, but instead thrust her folder at Principal Garcia, who had come outside when he heard the commotion. Mrs. Palmer, here's Tyler's withdrawal paperwork. We'll be homeschooling him from now on, where he won't be subjected to an environment that ignores his needs, and we'll be filing a complaint with the school board about how this situation was handled. Principal Garcia accepted the folder calmly. Principal Garcia, I'm sorry you feel that way, Mrs. Palmer. Tyler is always welcome back if you change your mind, and I'd be happy to work with you on appropriate accommodations based on any documentation from his healthcare providers. Mrs. Palmer, it's too late for that. Come on, Douglas. She marched back to her car, where her husband was waiting, engine running. As they drove away, there was a collective sigh of relief from the parents still standing there. Over the next few weeks, the rainbow backpack incident faded from daily conversation, though it still came up occasionally at parent gatherings. Jamie continued to use her rainbow backpack, and from what Lily told me, she'd actually gotten several compliments on it from other kids who thought the whole situation was silly. The school board meeting came and went with no mention of Mrs. Palmer's complaint. Apparently, she'd been told by the superintendent that without medical documentation specifically stating that Tyler needed a rainbow-free environment, which, unsurprisingly, didn't exist, there was no basis for a complaint. I saw Mrs. Rodriguez at the grocery store about a month after everything had settled down and asked if she'd heard anything about Tyler. Mrs. Rodriguez, actually, yes. He's enrolled at Westfield Academy now. Apparently, they don't have any students with rainbow backpacks. She rolled her eyes slightly, and we both chuckled. Westfield was a private school with strict uniform requirements, including solid-colored navy blue backpacks for all students. Me, do you think he's happier there? Mrs. Rodriguez, I hope so. He was a sweet kid who seemed embarrassed by the whole situation. But between you and me, I think the problem was never really about the backpack. She didn't elaborate, and I didn't ask. Some kids have a tough time at school for all sorts of reasons, and some parents channel their anxiety into strange battles. In the end, nobody at Oakwood Elementary seemed particularly concerned about Tyler's departure, except maybe Lily, who mentioned once that she missed playing math games with him at center time. Jamie still carries her rainbow backpack proudly, and life at Oakwood Elementary returned to normal until the great peanut butter versus sun butter debate of last week. But that's another story entirely. Story 2. I never thought owning a small ice cream shop would involve so much drama. For 5 years, Sweet Scoops had been my pride and joy. I'd built it from nothing into the neighborhood's favorite dessert spot. Everyone loved our homemade flavors until she showed up. It was a busy Saturday afternoon in July. The line was out the door, mostly families with kids eager for a cool treat on a hot day. My 2 teenage employees and I were working as fast as we could, scooping and serving with practiced efficiency. That's when I first noticed her. A woman in her mid-40s with that particular haircut that screams, "I want to speak to your manager." She had a tiny Pomeranian tucked under her arm, which was already a problem since we don't allow pets inside due to health regulations. "Excuse me," I called out politely. "I'm sorry, but we can't have dogs in the shop. Health department rules." She looked at me like I just insulted her entire family lineage. "Woman, this is Precious. She's not just a dog. She's my emotional support animal." I'd dealt with this before, so I stayed calm. "Me? I understand, ma'am, but the health department doesn't make exceptions for emotional support animals in food preparation areas. I'd be happy to bring your order outside to you." "Woman, do you know who I am? I'm on the city council." She wasn't. "I know every council member because they approved my business license." But before I could respond, the woman pushed her way to the front of the line, ignoring the complaints from the waiting customers. "Woman, I need to see your gluten-free options. Precious has celiac disease." One of my teenage employees, Zach, tried to help. "Zach, we have our sorbet options that are gluten-free. Would you like to try a sample?" The woman sniffed dismissively. "Woman, and how do I know they're really gluten-free? Do you clean your scoops between flavors? What about cross-contamination?" I stepped in again. "Me. We take allergies very seriously here. All our sorbets are prepared in a separate area with dedicated equipment." "Woman, I don't believe you. Show me your kitchen." "Me. Ma'am, customers aren't allowed in the preparation area. It's against health regulations." Woman, I told you, I'm on the city council. I have a right to inspect any food establishment in this town. By now, other customers were getting annoyed. A dad with 2 kids spoke up. Dad, lady, can you just order or let the rest of us get our ice cream? It's hot out here. The woman spun around to face him. Woman, how dare you? My precious has special dietary needs. This is discrimination. The tiny dog yapped as if on cue. I decided to try one more time to defuse the situation. Me? Ma'am, I'd be happy to show you our ingredient lists for the sorbets, but I really can't let you behind the counter. She stared at me for a moment, and I thought she was finally going to be reasonable. Then, while I was distracted helping another customer, she made her move. In one quick motion, she lifted the counter flap and slipped behind it, still clutching her little dog. By the time I noticed, she was already opening the door to our preparation area. Me? Hey, you can't go in there. I rushed after her, but it was too late. She was standing in the middle of our kitchen, opening freezer doors and examining containers. Woman. Aha, just as I suspected, cross-contamination everywhere. The dog was now sniffing around the floor, leaving tiny paw prints across the clean surface. Me. You need to leave right now, or I'm calling the police. Woman. Go ahead. I'm documenting this for the health department anyway. She pulled out her phone and started taking pictures. That's when my employee Zach appeared in the doorway, phone in hand. Zach. I already called them, boss. They're on their way. The woman seemed unfazed, continuing her self-appointed inspection. She put her dog down on the prep table, and started rummaging through our ingredient storage. Woman, what's in this container? Is this your chocolate mix? Does it have gluten? Me, please get your dog off my prep table. This is a serious health violation. Woman, Precious needs to see what's going into her treats. She has a very sensitive tummy. I was about to lose it completely when I heard an authoritative voice from the doorway. Health inspector, what's going on here? Talk about perfect timing. It was Mike, our regular health inspector, who happened to be in the area when the call came in. His eyes widened as he took in the scene, a stranger and her dog in our kitchen, with the dog standing on the prep table. Health inspector, ma'am, you need to remove yourself and that animal from this food preparation area immediately. The woman puffed up like an angry bird. Woman, I'm conducting an inspection. This place is violating health codes left and right. Mike pulled out his badge. Health inspector, I'm Mike Reynolds from the county health department. I'm the only one authorized to inspect this establishment, and you are creating multiple serious violations right now. The woman's face turned an interesting shade of purple, but before she could respond, 2 police officers appeared behind Mike. Officer, is there a problem here? The next hour was a blur of statements and paperwork. The woman whose name I learned was Tiffany Mendoza was escorted out of the shop. She screamed the entire time about how she was going to sue everyone and shut us down for good. The worst part? Mike had no choice but to cite us for the violations and order us to close until we could do a complete sanitization of the kitchen. That meant losing at least a full day of business during our busiest season. As we were putting up the closed sign, Mike pulled me aside. Health inspector, just so you know, I'm documenting exactly how these violations occurred. This shouldn't affect your excellent record with the department. Me. Thanks, Mike. But I still have to pay for the deep cleaning and lose all that business. Health inspector, you might want to consider pursuing damages from that woman. What she did was illegal trespassing that resulted in harm to your business. I hadn't even thought of that. But as soon as he mentioned it, I knew exactly what I needed to do. The next morning, I called my cousin who happens to be a lawyer. 2 days later, Miss Mendoza was served with papers for trespassing, damage to business, and intentional interference with business relations. We calculated damages based on lost revenue, cleaning costs, and the supplies we had to throw out due to contamination concerns. She tried to fight it, of course. Went on social media calling for a boycott of Sweet Scoops for discriminating against service animals. But my security cameras had caught everything, including her admission that the dog was an emotional support animal, not a service animal, and her putting the dog on food preparation surfaces. When her story hit the local news, other business owners came forward with similar stories about Councilwoman Karen, as people started calling her. Turns out she'd been pulling the fake council member routine all over town. The judge had zero sympathy. She was ordered to pay $7,452 in damages and issued a formal apology. The court also banned her from entering Sweet Scoops for 2 years. The best part? The publicity actually helped business. We reopened with a new, gluten-free pup cup, a tiny sorbet cup designed for dogs that could be enjoyed outside the shop. It became our best seller that summer. As for Precious the Pomeranian, turns out the poor thing didn't even have celiac disease. When a local reporter interviewed Tiffany's ex-husband, he confirmed that she had made up the whole thing for attention. The dog's actual name was Bruno, and he happily ate regular dog food at home. Some people, I swear. But hey, at least we got a popular new menu item out of the whole fiasco. And now there's a framed picture behind the counter of a "No Tiffany's Allowed" sign just in case she gets any ideas about coming back after her ban expires. Story 3. I've been working at the Riverside Contemporary Art Gallery for about 3 years now. It's a small but respected gallery in our town that showcases local artists. I started as an intern and worked my way up to assistant curator, which means I help organize exhibitions, work with artists, and occasionally handle the front desk. Last Saturday was the opening of our new exhibition called Boundaries, featuring sculptures and installations by local artists. We were particularly excited about the centerpiece, a fascinating abstract sculpture made of twisted metal and colored glass by Marcus Rivera, one of the most respected artists in our community. The piece was called Fractured Perspective, and it was positioned right in the center of our main hall. The opening was going well. We had a decent crowd, the wine was flowing, and people seemed genuinely interested in the art. Around 7 p.m., I was speaking with one of the artists when I noticed a woman entering the gallery. She was probably in her mid-50s, wearing an expensive-looking outfit and carrying a designer handbag. She looked around the gallery with a sour expression, as if she'd smelled something unpleasant. I excused myself from my conversation and approached her with a welcoming smile. "Me, good evening. Welcome to Riverside Contemporary. Are you here for the Boundaries exhibition opening?" "Woman, I suppose I am. My friend Marjorie mentioned something about free wine." "Me, yes, we're serving complimentary wine and appetizers. Please feel free to enjoy the refreshments while you explore the exhibition." "Woman, fine. Where's the wine?" I pointed her toward our refreshment table and went back to my duties. About 20 minutes later, I heard a loud, theatrical gasp coming from the main hall. It was the same woman, standing in front of Marcus's sculpture with a look of absolute disgust on her face. "Woman, what is this supposed to be?" A few people turned to look at her, but most continued their conversations, ignoring the outburst. I approached her cautiously. "Me, that's Fractured Perspective by Marcus Rivera. It's actually the centerpiece of our exhibition." "Woman, this is absolutely ridiculous. This isn't art, it's just scrap metal and broken glass glued together. My 7-year-old grandson could make something better than this." "Me, well, art appreciation is subjective, of course. Mr. Rivera is exploring themes of broken perceptions and how we view reality through fragmented lenses." "Woman, don't give me that pretentious nonsense. This is exactly what's wrong with modern art today. There's no skill, no beauty, just random junk thrown together and given a fancy name." By now, more people were watching our interaction. I tried to keep my voice calm and professional. "Me, perhaps you'd prefer some of our other exhibits. We have a variety of styles represented in this show." "Woman, no, I want this removed. It's offensive and triggering to anyone with actual taste in art. I was genuinely confused. I'm sorry, but we can't remove the centerpiece of the exhibition. Mr. Rivera's work was specifically commissioned for this show. Woman, do you know who I am? My husband is James Wilson. We donate to 3 different museums in this city. I sit on the Community Arts Council. I know real art when I see it, and this is garbage. I had no idea who James Wilson was, but I tried to remain polite. I understand you don't personally connect with this piece, Mrs. Wilson, but many people find Mr. Rivera's work quite compelling. Art is meant to provoke thought and sometimes strong reactions. Woman, don't you dare lecture me about art, young lady. I've been collecting fine art since before you were born. She took a large sip of her wine and continued glaring at the sculpture. Woman, I want to speak to your manager. Now. Our gallery director, Mr. Chen, is speaking with some patrons, but I can try to find him for you. Woman, yes, do that. This monstrosity needs to be removed immediately. It's ruining the entire atmosphere of this place. I went to find Mr. Chen, who was in the middle of an important conversation with a potential donor. I quietly explained the situation, and he excused himself to come help. As we walked back toward the main hall, there was a sudden commotion, gasps, and shocked exclamations. We hurried forward to see Mrs. Wilson dramatically throwing the remainder of her red wine onto Marcus's sculpture, the dark liquid dripping down the metal and staining some of the colored glass elements. Mr. Chen, what are you doing? Stop that immediately. Woman, I'm improving it. At least now it has some color. The gallery fell silent. Everyone was staring at the scene in shock. Mr. Chen signaled to our security guard, who quickly approached. Mr. Chen, ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the premises immediately. Woman, I will not. That thing is offensive, and someone needed to do something about it. I'm performing a public service. Just then, a tall man with salt and pepper hair pushed through the crowd. It was Marcus Rivera himself. Marcus, what's happening? What did you do to my piece? The woman turned to face him, still looking defiant. Woman, I showed everyone what this art really deserves. Someone had to take a stand against this modern garbage. Marcus looked at her for a long moment, then his eyes widened in recognition. Marcus, Sandra Wilson. From Oak Ridge Estates? The woman blinked, suddenly uncertain. Woman, yes. Do I know you? Marcus, I'm Marcus Rivera. In addition to being the artist whose work you just vandalized, I'm also the president of your homeowners association. The color drained from her face. Woman, what? But, you can't be. Marcus Rivera from the Hewa is an accountant or something. Marcus, I'm an artist. I've always been an artist. Accounting is just my day job. I'm surprised you don't remember, considering how many complaints you filed with the Hewa over the years. Mr. Chen, you two know each other? Marcus, unfortunately, yes. Mrs. Wilson here has been cited numerous times for violations of our community's rules, most recently for her unapproved landscape modifications and for repeatedly ignoring noise ordinances with her late-night parties. Woman, that's completely unrelated to this situation. Marcus was examining his damaged sculpture. Marcus, this piece is valued at $18,000, Mrs. Wilson, and you've just vandalized it on purpose, in front of dozens of witnesses. Woman, it was an accident. I tripped. Several people in the crowd immediately contradicted her. Gallery patron, that's not true. She said she was improving it when she threw her wine on it. Another patron, I recorded the whole thing on my phone. Mrs. Wilson looked around desperately, realizing she had no allies in the room. Woman, this is ridiculous. I'm leaving. She tried to push past our security guard, but Mr. Chen stepped forward. Mr. Chen, I'm afraid you can't leave yet. We need to file a police report for the vandalism, and you'll be receiving a bill for the damages to Mr. Rivera's artwork. The security guard called the police, who arrived about 15 minutes later. They took statements from multiple witnesses and ended up escorting Mrs. Wilson out in handcuffs when she tried to slap Marcus after he calmly listed all her HOA violations to the officers. A week later, I learned from Marcus that the HOA board had held an emergency meeting. Given the vandalism charges, her history of rule violations, and the fact that she had apparently been renting out her basement illegally against HOA regulations, they had voted to begin eviction proceedings. Mrs. Wilson was being forced to sell her house and leave the community. The damaged sculpture actually became something of a local celebrity. Marcus decided to incorporate the wine stains into the piece, rather than trying to clean them off completely. He added a few new elements and renamed it Entitled Perspective. When we displayed it at our next exhibition, it sold for $25,000, $7,000 more than the original asking price. Some of the proceeds went to start a new program at our gallery, art appreciation classes for children. Marcus teaches them occasionally, helping kids understand that art isn't about being good or bad, it's about expression and perspective. As for Mrs. Wilson, I heard she moved to a condo downtown. Apparently, her husband filed for divorce shortly after the incident when he discovered she'd been lying about their finances and charitable donations for years. The last I heard, she was complaining to anyone who would listen about how she was the real victim in all of this. But none of us at the gallery shed any tears for her. After all, actions have consequences even for people who think they're above the rules. Story 4. I never thought I'd find myself in the principal's office like one of my students, but there I was, sweating through my cardigan while Principal Davis reviewed the emails. 20 years of teaching English at Westfield High, and now my job was on the line because of one parent. It all started 3 weeks ago when I assigned my junior class their semester research paper. A pretty standard assignment: pick a literary movement, research its major figures, and analyze its impact on modern literature. Most students got right to work, except for Brittany. Brittany had been in my class all year, and I'd noticed a pattern. Her work was inconsistent at best. Sometimes brilliant, sometimes barely passing, with no middle ground. But this research paper took things to another level. When I opened Brittany's document, my teacher alarm bells immediately went off. The writing style changed drastically between paragraphs. Some sections used vocabulary well beyond high school level, while others contained basic grammar errors, classic signs of cut and paste plagiarism. I ran it through our school's plagiarism checker, and sure enough, about 70% of her paper was directly copied from various websites, some from academic journals, some from literature blogs, and even a chunk from someone's college thesis. I had no choice but to give her an F and schedule a meeting with her to discuss academic integrity. The next morning, I was preparing for first period when my classroom door flew open. In stormed a woman in designer clothes and oversized sunglasses, which she dramatically removed as she approached my desk. Her, "Are you Mr. Thompson?" Me, "Yes, I am. Can I help you?" Her, "I'm Victoria Mercer, Brittany's mother. We need to talk about this ridiculous grade you gave my daughter." I recognized the name immediately. Victoria Mercer served on the school board and was known for throwing her weight around. She dropped a copy of Brittany's paper on my desk, the red F circled multiple times at the top. Me, Mrs. Mercer, I'd be happy to discuss Brittany's grade, but I usually require students to be present for these conversations. Should we schedule a time when? Her, "No, we're handling this now. My daughter was in tears all night. She worked incredibly hard on this paper, and you failed her. I want to know why." Me, "The paper received an F because significant portions were plagiarized from online sources without proper citation." Her, "Plagiarized? My daughter doesn't plagiarize. She's getting straight as in all her other classes. Maybe you just don't recognize good writing when you see it." Me, "I can show you the plagiarism report if you like." The software flagged numerous passages that were copied word for word from published sources. Her, "That software is flawed. Brittany is very well read. Of course her writing might resemble published authors. That's called being educated. I tried to keep my voice steady as I pulled up the plagiarism report on my computer and turned the screen toward her. Me, Mrs. Mercer, these aren't similar ideas or phrasing. These are exact matches from multiple sources, including this academic journal and this university website. You can see the highlighted sections. She barely glanced at the screen before waving her hand dismissively. I don't have time for this. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to grade my daughter's paper again, and this time you're going to grade easier, much easier. Me, I'm sorry, but that's not possible. Academic integrity is a core value at Westfield, and do you know who I am? I'm on the school board. I approve the budget that pays your salary. One phone call from me, and Principal Davis will be looking for reasons to let you go. My stomach dropped, but I stood my ground. Me, Mrs. Mercer, I understand you're upset, but threatening my job doesn't change the fact that Brittany's paper violated our academic honesty policy. Let me be perfectly clear. Either Brittany gets at least a B on this paper by the end of the week, or I'll make sure you regret it. I have friends in the district office. I can make things very difficult for you. With that, she slid her sunglasses back on, gathered up her designer purse, and strutted out of my classroom, leaving me shaking with a mix of anger and anxiety. I immediately went to Principal Davis, who listened to my account with increasing concern. He asked me to forward him all the evidence, including the plagiarism report. Principal Davis, I'll handle this, but document everything. If she contacts you again, don't respond and let me know right away. The next day, I received an email from Mrs. Mercer, copying Principal Davis, the superintendent, and 3 school board members. In it, she accused me of targeting her daughter, having unreasonable expectations, and creating a hostile learning environment. She demanded a review of all my grading practices and suggested I needed professional development in student motivation. I forwarded it to Principal Davis with shaking hands. Within an hour, he called me to his office. Principal Davis, I've started an investigation, as Mrs. Mercer requested, but probably not the one she was hoping for. The superintendent is taking this very seriously, not your grading, but her threats. For the next week, I tried to teach normally while this storm brewed around me. Brittany didn't show up to class, and the other teachers were giving me sympathetic looks in the hallway. Apparently, everyone knew what was happening. Then came the emergency school board meeting. I wasn't planning to attend until Principal Davis called me. Principal Davis, you should be there. Trust me. When I arrived, the meeting room was already packed. Teachers, parents, even some students had shown up. Mrs. Mercer sat in the front row, looking smug. I slipped into a seat in the back, trying to be invisible. The board president called the meeting to order and then handed things over to the superintendent, Dr. Martinez. Dr. Martinez, we're here to address a serious matter regarding academic integrity standards at Westfield High. Following accusations made against a member of our teaching staff, we conducted a thorough investigation. Mrs. Mercer smiled and nodded, clearly expecting vindication. Dr. Martinez, our investigation confirmed that the teacher in question followed all proper protocols. The student's paper contained substantial plagiarism from multiple sources, which I've provided copies of to board members. Furthermore, we discovered this is not an isolated incident. The room got very quiet. Mrs. Mercer's smile vanished. Dr. Martinez, a review of the student's previous assignments revealed a pattern of academic dishonesty dating back to freshman year. We've also uncovered evidence that Mrs. Mercer was aware of this behavior and has previously pressured other teachers to change grades. Mrs. Mercer jumped to her feet. This is ridiculous. You're all just covering for each other. My daughter is gifted. She's just too advanced for your mediocre curriculum. Dr. Martinez, Mrs. Mercer, please take your seat. This board meeting is being recorded. I don't care. My husband is an attorney, and when he hears about this witch hunt. The board president, Mrs. Mercer, you are out of order. If you cannot conduct yourself appropriately, you will be asked to leave. Her, fine, I'm leaving. But this isn't over. Not by a long shot. She grabbed her things and stormed toward the exit, but stopped when she reached my row. Her, this is all your fault. You'll be sorry. Everyone heard her. Several people gasped. Dr. Martinez signaled to the security guard at the door, who stepped forward. Dr. Martinez, Mrs. Mercer, that comment has been recorded and witnesses. I strongly advise you to leave the premises immediately. After she left, the meeting continued. The board voted unanimously to uphold my grading decision and to place Brittany on academic probation. More surprisingly, they also voted to ban Mrs. Mercer from school board meetings for the remainder of the school year, citing her pattern of intimidation toward staff. The following day, Brittany was back in my class. She didn't make eye contact, but she stayed after the bell. Brittany, my mom doesn't know I'm here. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. She made me do it. She's been writing all my papers since 7th grade. I didn't know what to say. Part of me felt angry, but mostly I felt sad for her. Me, Brittany, I can help you learn to write your own papers. It's not too late. Brittany, really? You don't hate me? Me, no, I don't hate you. But from now on, the work has to be yours. Brittany, my mom's going crazy at home. She's talking about private school now. Me, whatever happens, remember that you're the one who has to live with your choices, not your mom. She nodded and left. I don't know what will happen with Brittany or her mother. Mrs. Mercer's husband called the school threatening a lawsuit, but nothing has come of it yet. The teachers have started a running joke about pulling a Mercer when someone tries to avoid consequences. As for me, I'm still teaching. The experience was terrifying, but also strangely validating. The system actually worked for once. The truth mattered, and maybe, just maybe, Brittany learned something important that had nothing to do with literary movements.